Welcome to our latest edition of Facebook Live. And we thought we would talk today a little bit about Social Security. And it's a very basic, really, part of Social Security. And in that vein, we are going to host and put on a webinar on June 17th that gets much more in depth. However, this is an important topic, what we're going to talk about today. So I don't mean to minimize it at all. But that is why you should have online access to your Social Security account. So they used to mail statements, right, every year pretty much, and they have slowly stopped doing that. And sometimes I will get a random statement in the mail, but not always. And so really everyone, even if you're not even anywhere close to filing for benefits, should set up your online access to Social Security, and we'll kind of get into that a little bit, but we have seen some mistakes in people's records where they are missing years of earnings, and so it can be important to keep an eye on that as time goes by to make sure that your record is accurate. So Mike has actually recorded a video that shows you how to do it, and it's not difficult, but it is worth the time.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. So we're gonna go through that. I'm gonna try to work technology here,
and
hopefully we can watch this at the same time. All right, so this is the process of me logging in, and I'm just gonna kind of walk you through the steps as we go here. The first thing you want to do is just go to SSA.gov. That's where you can find lots of information on Social Security. Is right from their website. And then in the top right-hand corner, you'll see the Sign In/Up button. And click on that. And then what we're signing up for today is My Social Security. That's the online version of your Social Security, essentially replacing those statements that you're getting in the mail. You can keep track of everything. So click on that. Should be pretty self-explanatory. You're going to the Create New Account. Obviously, you're signing in if you haven't done that previously. We'll click on Create New Account. Walk through, read through the terms of service. These are actually, believe it or not, even though this is government, it's not that long. So it's so many things that we click through that are pages and pages long, but this one isn't that long.
And that you never actually read.
Right. Yep. So click on I agree to the terms of service. It's probably worth noting, and kind of what Jennifer was saying there, that last paragraph, that Social Security is going green. Right here you can see you will no longer receive a paper statement for Social Security in the mail once you sign up for My Social Security. But it's better to have that online access anyway, because you can see a lot more than those statements are giving you. We'll hit Next. And then right here is where you're going to fill out this information. So I'll scroll down the page here just so you can see what what they're asking for. Pretty simple, pretty self-explanatory. Basic contact information, address. You can see I filled it in and I blurred out everything for the creation of the person we're creating. We'll hit Next, and this is a real account. I will say that, just so that we wanted to go through this legit the first time. So right here, the next thing is they want to see your driver's license, and you can either input the information directly as far as the driver's license number and the state, or you can upload it with a smartphone. You can see the two options there. And you're just clicking the option that you decide to go with and hit Next. I'm going to use the input your ID information, since it'd be a little harder to record what I do with the smartphone there and to get that in the video. All right, and right here's where you would put in that driver's license number. If you have another ID card or need to use something else, you have those options as well. But again, we'll walk through this, and we are in Virginia. And then I will obviously blur out the driver's license number because you don't need to see that.
Nope, this person was a good sport, though, that allowed you to do this. It's interesting that I didn't realize you can put a learner's permit in there. That is considered an official ID. I would not have thought of that.
That is interesting.
My soon-to-be 15-year-old daughter would be all over that one.
And then Next. And the next piece is one more step of security. This one is not required. I did go through and do it with the credit card information just to add that extra security. Anytime I'm doing anything online, I like to have that extra level. You know, when you have that, like the dual authentication, which can be annoying at times. It can be a pain to go through those, but is worth, I think, the extra security to go through that. So I did that with the credit card.
Interesting.
This is where, once again, more information that I'm not going to let you see.
Secret squirrel stuff.
Yep. And then moving on, so this is the activation code that you can get via text message. They'll send you a code just like lots of those tools. Type in the activation code. And then finally, you're creating your access here. So this is where you set up a username, you'll set up a password, you'll go through the different questions and set up security questions. And then from there, that's it, you're in.
Yeah.
Congratulations, it's set up. One more list of terms of service, and this is same as what we saw before.
Just in case you didn't get the first time.
Just in case you didn't see it the first time.
Yeah.
And then we are in the online access here. So you can see, real quick, some of the information that you see.
Yeah, so eligibility and earnings, that's what we were alluding to earlier, is you need to work basically 10 years to be eligible. They look at it in quarters. So it's not 10 consecutive years, but you need to have worked 40 quarters or the equivalent of 10 years to be eligible to receive benefits. There are some nuances to that because they do define quarters not so much by time, but by amount of earnings. And it's just under $6,000 a year for the 10 years. And so, but it calculates your benefit based on your highest 35 years of earnings. So if you only work 10 years and they're calculating your benefit based on 35 years, then you would have 25 zeros in your benefit calculation. So it's something because some people are like, can I maximize my benefits? How can I do that? If you know this when you're younger, you know that the higher earning years really do matter, and having enough earnings record really does matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of corporate pensions that work very different. That it's the last couple of years.
Yeah. Average 3 years.
And so many people are working overtime for just those last few years to really raise that pension.
Yeah.
A little harder to do that with Social Security because it is such a long history.
Yep, and there's a cap on how much of your earnings are taxed every year. So, this year it's $142,800, I think. So if you made $200,000, you're only taxed on that $142,000. So that's your maximum earnings. So, and that goes up over time. It wasn't that long ago. It was only $80,000.
Yeah. So in the video here, that little link is what you can click to see your earnings history, and you can see the years listed for this individual as far as the earnings history. And that's where you're going through and just double checking that with you based off of your W-2 and what you actually earned in those years.
Yeah.
And doing that on a yearly or at least every few years.
Yeah, we've
basis is not a bad idea.
Had a client who had several years of information that was missing, and it's much easier to deal with sooner rather than later because then you don't have time and there's no panic to figuring that out. So, we encourage everyone who has any kind of earnings history to create up an online account like that so you can keep track. It is a very important part of most people's retirement is that benefit. A large portion of the population lives on that. That's their sole support in retirement, and which is not great. It's much better to have more resources, but even for those with resources, it's an important part of their retirement picture. And the timing and the calculation of when to file is a whole nother story, which we would actually get into in that webinar. Which we will share the link on how to register for that webinar with this video. But there are a couple other decision points we'll just touch on. And one is, should you continue to work once you filed for benefits? And that's an it depends answer, so many things.
A lot of people don't realize that depending on when you are looking at filing for Social Security, you could potentially be penalized. Or at least the pay being delayed there because of your earnings in whatever that part-time income or even full-time income to take Social Security, and those particular calculations are so pre full retirement age, and I like we just found out that actually in what was the year
1959.
1959.
Mm-hmm.
So anybody today watching the video that was born in 1959, this is the first year that you become eligible for Social Security. And your eligibility is actually 66 and 7 months?
10
months.
Yeah.
10 months, close. 66 and 10 months. And that's that Social Security's, what they call is the PIA, which is that's the FRA, which is the full retirement age. So 66 and 10 months, they're saying this is your full retirement age. You've made it at that point, 66 and 10 months for anybody born in 1959. You're not going to be penalized by taking Social Security. Starting next year, that number goes to 70, and that was kind of that phase out period where they slowly pushed that full retirement age back to 70.
Yeah, so it's not 65. It's for anybody who's aging in now, and a lot of people think that because they're Medicare eligible, they should be filing for Social Security. Not necessarily true.
You could, but not necessarily
but not
the
necessarily
right
true.
move.
Right.
Yeah. So back to the earnings.
Yes.
To the earnings.
So for every $2 you earn above $18,960, random number, it seems like, and you're not your full retirement age, you get penalized. Your benefit gets reduced by $1. And then they kind of the year you turn full retirement age, you got a little more leeway. They penalize you $1 for every $3 earned, but the threshold's $50,000 or higher. But once you reach full retirement age, you can work all you want, and it does not reduce your benefits. So it's something to keep in mind if you're going to continue to work, that you will be penalized for that, which makes no sense really to penalize people for earning, but they do.
Yeah.
So we were going to talk about benefits if you're divorced, and some people think if they're divorced that they've got no right to their ex-spouse's benefit, but that may not be true if you were married for at least 10 years. And there are rules around it. The ex-spouse has to be full retirement age. You have not to be remarried unless you're 60 or older. If you're 60 or older, you still can. It can
get very complicated. Lots of these things.
Yeah. But it is something to explore as far as, especially if your former spouse was a much higher wage earner than you've been in your work history, you may end up with a higher benefit having a spousal benefit on that person's record. So something to keep in mind. And then we have the whole widow survivor benefit issue as well, which has different rules.
Yeah. That's a whole nother element to think about as far as when a widow or widower can receive Social Security, and that's both their own as the surviving spouse and any possible dependent Social Security benefits as well. It's an element there.
Definitely. Yeah. So for example, my daughter is eligible for survivor benefits on her dad's record because she's under 18. I am not old enough to file for
but you are not.
I am not old enough, yes, thankfully. Yep. But anyway, to file for that. But it is, everybody's situation is unique.
Yep.
And Social Security is not a simple issue no matter what. Even if you got married at 22 and have stayed married till you're 70, it's still not simple because it also depends on your work history. So definitely approach it carefully, those decisions. We've heard a statistic that 4% of people make the decision of when to file and how to file. Only 4% do it in the way that maximizes their own personal benefit. So it is a big deal.
Yeah.
And
I'll say too is when you go to actually file, there are agents and people in place, and even in that online My Social Security tool, there's things in there where you can see estimates for what the benefit will be at certain ages. But something that they don't tell you is those Social Security agents, they literally are not allowed to give you advice.
Right.
They can estimate anything that you ask them, but things like that ex-spouse
especially, because they might not be looking at that.
Yeah, and there's no reason for them to even know. But even if they did, they're not allowed to offer that advice. They're going to answer the questions, And I hate to say, unfortunately, we've had many clients that will ask a question to an agent and get a different answer depending on who they're talking to.
You really do have to pursue it doggedly.
Yeah. So having somebody that can help you out with that. And again, just a plug for the webinar that we've got coming up. I pulled up the quick information. So June 17th, we'll have that late morning, I believe, is the plan. But we'll have a link to that registration. The title is What Baby Boomers Need to Know About Their Retirement Income. And we'll go into a lot more detail there. A couple of bullet points. Let's see. From once you're inside, so at this workshop or this webinar, some things that we plan to get across that will help you are 5 factors to consider when deciding when to apply for Social Security. When it makes sense to delay benefits and when it does not, because there are certain instances that's not the case. Why you should always check your earnings record for accuracy. That's just 3 of a few of the bullets. Rewind and go back to that video there and set up your My Social Security. Hopefully everybody will do that today.
Thanks for joining us. And again, we would love feedback or suggestions of things you would like to learn about. Please email us at info@summitrva.com, and you can also visit our website, summitfinancialpartnersrva.com, and there is a contact us button as well. So thanks for joining us.
Thank you.